So this is going to be Lesson 5, Discovery Task for On-Demand SharePoint. To perform a discovery of the SharePoint online content, we will access the SharePoint module. If you haven't already, you can go ahead and perform the discovery, because if you notice here, this is a brand new project in which no site collections have been discovered. So what we can do is actually go into the Discover SharePoint Site Collections and perform the task to discover SharePoint site collections. We have two options here. One is for discovering all of your SharePoint site collections. The other option is to specify which site collections you're wanting to work with via a CSV file. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Right now, let's begin with everything. So simple as executing the operation of the task now, later, or on schedule. And I will go ahead and say discovery task. This will be all, and perform this operation. If you're not aware, once we perform that task, we can actually sit and monitor the actual details of that particular task. So that link takes us to the Tasks tab here. Within that task, we can technically go into the Events area. And the event is just going to highlight the actual operations happening behind the scenes in on-demand migration. Events have been completed. If I go back to the tasks, it will let me know if the overall task has been completed. Currently, the actual task is still running. Again, if we want to, we can go back into the events area and identify where we are in the overall operation. You'll notice that we've discovered, and the discovery is still in process. We've found 58 site collections so far. Going back to tasks is really going to let us know when the actual task itself is complete. Now that the discovery task has been completed, if you're wanting to, you can go back and take a look at the various events. Let's just jump straight into the actual discovered content so we can access that by the SharePoint contents. This will list all of the 58 site collections that were discovered for the source tenant. It will display, of course, the type. In this case, it is the site, meaning the site collection, the name for the site, the state. So the object state is currently from the operation that we performed or the task, meaning it was discovered via the discovery. We do have other operations such as matching to see if the actual site and the URL exists in the target. Of course, we're all here for the migration, so we can support this through the migration. Now that we've found all 58 of the site collections, perhaps you have many sites, hundreds of thousands of site collections that you're needing to work with. Maybe you're wanting to structure and organize this data in a slightly better manner. So one of the things that we do support is, again, remember in the discovery, we can discover content using a file. So what I can do here is under the More Actions, I can actually delete my current set of site collections that have been discovered. This is only deleting the actual sites from the on-demand migration module, not actual 365. So this just clears out what we've discovered. Now let's use an actual mapping file. One of the best ways to create this mapping file is natively using out-of-the-box SharePoint Admin Center here. So what we recommend, if necessary, is to export all of your existing site collections into a CSV file. Your file would have an output that has a lot of data to it. We are really only concerned with column B. So in my case, I actually have several sites that I only want to work with, which are going to be the sales sites here. We have top-level sales, then one for each one of the actual teams here, east, north, south, and west. So you can delete all of the other content that's not necessary and create a brand new CSV file. So in my case, I actually have a stripped-down version of that file. I just left column A in just so that for me visually, I can see what the name of the site is, but column B is what we're going to look for, that particular URL. So we will use this file for the actual discovery process. So click on Discover Site Collections, select the option to discover from a file, and browse for that particular CSV. So in this case, Discovery for Sales. I will go ahead and execute this now. Next, in this case, I'm just going to give it a different name, and I will say Sales. Again, we can jump and look at the actual task and the events necessary and wait for the actual discovery to complete. So now that the actual discovery task for those sales site collections have been completed, we can jump back into the SharePoint contents. And now you'll notice that we're only displaying the sites for that particular set of content. So that concludes that portion of discovery.